Hi, my name's Richard Harrison. Many thanks for joining us for this morning's session on the Innovator Founder Visa. I see some names we recognise in the room, some names that are new. So whether you're new to this or well versed in the subject, I hope there's something here that's of interest to you. Okay, so if you're not connected to me on LinkedIn, please do connect. I try and answer all my personal messages. We do publish quite a lot about the visa route as well. Richard Harrison, Innovator International or Gemnis Innovation. You'll also find the rest of the team on LinkedIn as well, but please do connect to me and I will respond to you as soon as possible. This session is the same session we ran last year, which was very well attended and very successful to help you understand more about the Innovator Visa route from an endorsing body's perspective. We're going to talk about the purpose of the event, any misconceptions and statistics, the overview of the process step by step. We've added some sections in on converting from startup or legacy and indefinite leave to remain. What to do if you're refused and the main reasons for refusal, and then give you a few takeaway points. Now, this session is going to be recorded and placed on our YouTube channel. We are also transcribing the session using AI, and I will publish that on as a LinkedIn article as well. But please do not try and record or use AI to transcribe this session yourself. The reason for that is we know that the AI transcriptions can sometimes be technically incorrect, and we don't want to be misquoted if it does get something wrong. So we will transcribe the session, we will make sure it's all technically correct, publish it on LinkedIn, and you will have a link to that article. So again, all microphones off, please. All questions coming in via the chat feature. Anyone who's been to one of my sessions before will know that I try and bring in questions through the session. So I'll keep stopping and checking the questions, make sure they're timely. If they are timely, I'll answer them straight away. If they're not, I'll get back to them. But if we do go past the 1 hour, I will go back through the questions and try and answer each and every one. So if you can stay, it's brilliant. If you can't stay, then we'll make sure that they're available through the YouTube video and the LinkedIn transcription. So again, we can't answer questions regarding a specific application, and we are covering as much as we can in a short time. Follow-ons can be arranged. We're keen to speak to you all as much as we can. Again, what we will do, because there's a lot of information to go through, I may skirt over some topics loosely, but if you want to watch this back when it's on YouTube, it will be split into sections, so it'll be easy to navigate to the specific part you want. So again, the full session will be recorded and placed on our YouTube channel. The AI transcription will be published as a LinkedIn article. And the other good news is we're not doing this annually anymore. We're going to repeat it every 3 months. Although we're thinking of doing more in person. So in 3 months' time, we might run a session in London again, and then 3 months later, go back to doing a Zoom session. So we want to engage with you personally a lot more. So we will be repeating these sessions on a regular basis with up-to-date information. So let's dive straight into the purpose for this specific visa route. Sorry, purpose for this event. And what we want to do is help you understand the purpose of this route, help you understand what we seek as an endorsing body. There's some confusion over there. There always has been. So we try and clarify that in these sessions to clarify some key points to help your understanding of what may go wrong, what does often go wrong, and how to circumnavigate or prevent that from happening, and to increase your confidence in the program, because ultimately we want to make your experience applying for this route easier, not harder. When you're working with people who have a good entrepreneurial idea, we don't want this to be a barrier to progression. We want it to be an enabler to help them grow their businesses in the UK as long as it meets the suitable criteria. So let's just move on and get a few misconceptions straight out of the way. These are the misconceptions you hear over LinkedIn, over Facebook groups, and in person. So I'm going to get these straight out the way now. It's getting harder. The criteria keeps increasing or changing. It's not true. It's not true. There's always been a consistency in the applications, the quality of application. As we move forward, you may find that occasionally the Home Office clarify some criteria, and I'll touch on those later on. but nothing is changing. It's certainly not getting harder. It's an investment route. I think we all know that this is that by now that this is not a replacement for the old investor visa routes, and it's not a means for someone to invest in a UK business in exchange for a position. It's not an investment route. We're looking for genuine entrepreneurs with their own projects. Anyone can start a business. I'll touch upon this a bit later as well, but starting a business is very, very difficult. This shouldn't be seen as individuals as oh, there's this Innovator Visa route. If I start a business, then I can get my UK visa. Therefore, let's try and start a business. Starting a business isn't something that people take lightly, and is extremely difficult for UK residents. Only a very small percentage of the population start and run and manage a successful business. So it's not for everyone, and having a go isn't enough. You've got to have a go and have a proposition and a background which suggests that you have a strong chance of being successful. This is a big one for me. Getting the visa alone is enough. Getting the visa is only the start of your journey. And I know for a lot of people in this room today, your role is to get your client into the UK. But our role is to make sure they then turn that into a successful business. And there are a number of applicants who are seeking this visa route to get into the UK. That's just a start. If they don't run and develop a successful business, they will most likely lose their visa. So getting the visa alone is not enough. I can't apply with an existing business. This is a bit of a funny one and a big misconception, because if you have an existing business, you can still apply for this visa route as long as you can demonstrate that you are a founder member of that business. So again, a misconception. It is quoted that way in the guidance for endorsing bodies. But again, please talk to us if you're unsure. That rule was really meant to stop potential applicants joining an existing operating UK business as an additional member. So you can apply with an existing business as long as you can demonstrate you're a founder member. And if I fail first time, I can resubmit my application. A little bit of a funny one. We offer the chance for a second assessment and appeal. Now, you can resubmit an application, but let's be absolutely honest. If you've got a genuine entrepreneur, they're going to put their best idea forward first. If you apply with a different idea and then apply with a different idea, every application, the quality of the idea tends to decrease and become more questionable. So yes, you can resubmit an application, but we are asked to take into account previous applications and why the strongest application wasn't submitted first. So okay, let's move on to application types now. At the moment, the current success rate for applications is around 20%, but that doesn't mean that every applicant has a 20% chance of succeeding. Far from it. This is a competitive process, so strong applications will have a significantly higher chance of succeeding, whereas people who are simply seeking a visa with a purchased business plan have a significantly lower chance of succeeding. And bearing that in mind, applications tend to fall into three categories. Number one is I want entry to the UK and I don't intend to run a business. We all know these people exist. More often than not, they may go and purchase a business plan that might align to their experience, but might not align to their experience. But these people have no background in their application area, probably no background in entrepreneurship. That's not a necessity, but it's a good point to note. It increases someone's chance of being successful, but we do get a lot of purchase plans that are quite clearly purchased, not well researched, and don't present a good, strong UK opportunity. The second one is people who say, well, because you've got to be an entrepreneur for this route, I'll give it a go. And they may be really bad applications. They may actually be quite good applications, but they're the ones that often require a little more investigation. And again, they could go either way. That's where we tend to start asking more questions and investigating or assessing in a lot more depth. Then the third one is I'm a genuine entrepreneur with a genuinely good idea. They're the people this route was genuinely intended for and the ones who have the highest chance of being successful. But what you've got to remember is an endorsement does not guarantee a successful visa application. We simply advise the Home Office on what projects they should consider for visa application. And the Home Office then perform their own checks. The visa application may be refused for other reasons. We don't find out what those reasons are if the Home Office subsequently refuse it, and there is no guarantee of success. But again, sticking a wet finger in the air at the moment, I say that because I'm going from memory here, around 95% of the endorsements we grant result in a successful visa application. The other 5% get refused for reasons that we're not made aware of, but the majority of cases, it's not a reflection on us having granted the endorsement, it's for other reasons. Okay, so now let's go into the process in a little more detail. Again, I appreciate I'm going through these slides very, very quickly, but we've got a lot to go through. They are going to be on YouTube, hopefully later on today. So the process overview, we've got a robust application that was fundamental in our success to becoming an endorsing body for this visa route. The three endorsing bodies, ourselves, investors and UCAS, will have slightly different processes, but ultimately applications to any endorsing body should have the same outcome. So this is our specific process. We receive applications via our website, www.innovateinternational.com. They are then assigned to an appropriate assessor who performs an in-depth assessment. I'm going to be going through each of these in more detail over the next few slides. Following the assessment, there's a panel meeting. So there's always a second decision on every application. This may lead to further questioning before a decision is made. If the decision is successful, there is an interview and due diligence, and then the client and the Home Office are informed. So let's go into this in a little more detail now. So those of you who worked with us on the legacy program will know that we used to do a triage or pre-assessment support. We'd look through a plan and we'd say, yes, this is suitable for the scheme, or no, it's not suitable for the scheme. But when the Home Office implemented the new rules and processes for Innovator Founder Visa, they said you are not allowed to give any form of pre-assessment support prior to a formal application and payment being made. So we're not allowed to advise on individual projects. But we have developed support guides for same business, for new business. We're doing one for ILR and how to write a business plan. And if you go to innovateinternational.com, they're all available as free guides at the top of the screen. I think there's a button that says support guides. If you click on that, you'll see a drop down and you can get those guides totally free. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to email our info@innovateinternational.com line. But again, please be aware we cannot comment on specific applications prior to a formal application being made. I'll go to the box on the side. The applicant should be the person primarily responsible for developing and submitting the business plan and delivering it, of course. So again, going back to the main points, the applicant must complete the application process and have significant input to the plan. And we must have direct contact with the client. Now, if you want to fill in the application form on your client's behalf, then you can actually do that because there's a box for you to save the application form, but it must be submitted and payment made quite specifically by the client. That is a Home Office rule. The client must click submit and must make the payment themselves. You shouldn't be doing that on their behalf because we need to have direct contact with the client. And if we have questions regarding a project, then we will ask the client directly. We'll happily CC you or involve you in the conversation, but we must have direct contact with the client so we know it is their project and not a plan that's been created for them that they are not able to deliver. One thing we've added this month, both on the original application and second assessment boxes, second assessment processes, is the chance to add a 2-minute video pitch. This is particularly useful for people who have something already and want to demonstrate it. I wouldn't bother using the video pitch if you're just going to repeat what's in the business plan. But if there's something you want to show us, it might be a client testimonial, that might be a demonstration of your product working, then you now have the chance to add a link to a video pitch. Because again, we found recently there are cases where showing something or again, particularly showing a demo of something can really help, because for some reason people just tend not to use visuals in their business plans. And by visuals I don't mean graphs, but a picture of what it is you're providing or promoting or selling just helps the assessor visualize what it is, and then it helps their mental understanding of what it is they're actually assessing. The fees are set by the Home Office. They're not our fees. But the application fee is £1,000 plus VAT if you're applying from within the UK for the assessment. This is where we differ from the other endorsing bodies. Our solution includes a reassessment if your original application is not successful, and an appeal. Now, the purpose of the reassessment is to tell us why you think we made the wrong decision. So it may be, for example, there's some information you didn't provide us with. We had a great case once of a very, very innovative food manufacturing process, and they had the business plan written for them, and the business plan failed to tell us that they had extensive experience in the food industry. So we refused them for that reason. They came back and said, well, actually, we've got all this experience. We just didn't put it in the plan. So a great example. But statistically speaking, 5% of reassessments are successful. We've never had a successful appeal. Now, what does that mean? It means we probably get it right first time in the majority of cases. I see questions coming in. I'm going to stop after this slide and just address a couple of the questions quickly. Okay, so we do a reassessment and appeal. That's not a chance to totally change your project, but it's a chance for you to tell us where you think we may have got it wrong. Feedback summaries are provided for all applicants. You get a document telling you why you were refused or why you were successful, picking on certain specific key points. If you're successful, you then pay another £1,000 plus VAT after 12 months. And that again is a Home Office fee. It's £500 for your 12-month checkpoint meeting and £500 for your 24-month checkpoint meeting. And once again, these fees are set by the Home Office. Before I go on to our assessors, I'm just going to go to a couple of questions, because I know if I leave them, then they will certainly build up. So first question, I won't mention who they're from because this is going live, obviously. So what level of engagement of influence do you have with the Home Office with respect to some of the challenges or barriers that the applicant may face? Can we expect you to act as a sounding board or liaison for improvements for clarity? Yeah, absolutely. So quite often, if the Home Office are going, well, we're told it will happen in every case. If the Home Office are going to refuse an application on the grounds of the endorsement, they will come to us and say, okay, why did you approve this, or why did you make that decision? And we will engage in a discussion with them. Does that discussion have influence? Well, it must do, because often it's led to a project being endorsed. Sometimes it hasn't. It's led to a project being refused. But we have the chance to have that conversation with the Home Office, and we will always fight the case, because we wouldn't have endorsed it in the first place if we didn't think there was a sufficiently strong case there. So yes, we can engage with the Home Office. With regards to us being used as a sounding board, we can't talk about a specific application. We can't talk about a specific application, but if you want some general advice about general areas, let's say for the sake of argument, you've got applicants in the medical sector, or you represent applicants in the medical sector, then we may say, for a successful application, we really need to see your route of entry to private sector healthcare or NHS, and it's great if you have some evidence, and your application, your research should be comprehensive, but we can't talk specifically about a single application. We can talk generically, and that's what we want to do. Can existing businesses already trading apply for endorsement? As long as the applicant is a founder member of that business, and there has to be substantial evidence they're a founder member. For example, they are listed as a founding member with Companies House on the company records. So yes, they can. Can anyone apply to you for an endorsement, or do they have to be signed up to one of your programs? No, anyone can apply to us to an endorsement, but you need to pay the application fee as set by the Home Office. We sign people up to our programs once they've been endorsed, because our programs are about supporting them through their journey. I'm going to get back to the slides in a couple of seconds. What type of references are best to provide? That's an interesting one. In all honesty, what's more important than references is customer engagement. And if I say to you, hey, my background's in computer science, aerospace engineering, it doesn't really matter to what I'm doing now. What does matter is I engage with my client base and work out there is a market for what it is I'm offering. Do I need to trademark my proposition or name before application? Absolutely not. No, that can be a part. It doesn't matter if you have, but that can be a process of setting up the business. And you may want to know your application is successful before you invest money anyway. Do we provide trademark support? We have individuals who can help provide trademark support. We don't do it personally, but we have individuals, and we also have videos on our members area of 2 different intellectual property specialists talking about this and helping with this. So yes, that is the sort of thing we can help you with. Let's go back to the process. Thanks for the questions, everyone. So once the application has come in, we assign an assessor, and all of our assessors are sector experts or experienced entrepreneurs. So if you give us a digital project, you're going to get a digital assessor. That is the most important thing to us, because they have to understand what it is that you're offering and your market. And what those assessors will do, they'll perform an in-depth assessment. They'll look at your CV, they'll look at your overall plan, they'll look at how you've engaged with the market, and they'll look at your finances to make sure everything fits together and makes sense. Because the best plans tell a clear, consistent and conjoined story. You should read fluently like a good book. We had applications before from an administrator from a business who has put forward a plan for a very, very technical project within that business. But it's quite clear in that case that a plan's been written for them because they've got some experience in that sector. Their experience was totally irrelevant to the plan. So we've got to be convinced that you're able to deliver this project. Okay. Most projects fall into one of 3 categories. This is sort of stating the obvious, really. Not eligible, possibly eligible, or eligible. And this sort of goes back to one of the previous slides. If they're not eligible, they get immediately refused without any need for further conversation or interview. If they're possibly eligible, then we will engage in more in-depth investigations. We may have questions for the applicant that we'll send by email, or we'll set up a conversation, or whether eligible. And it's clearly eligible because the evidence is right. The assessment can be very, very quick. But if we have questions, we will contact you to ask them. If we don't ask you questions, it's because your application was quite clearly in the not eligible or eligible sections. But we will always contact you to ask questions if we need more information and we think that the project has potential. So in terms of the in-depth assessment, we're going to move on now to the 3 big words: innovation, viability and scalability. And what we're looking for is a clear and compelling, unique selling proposition. What is sufficiently different to your product? I mean, it doesn't have to be. I've got to be cautious here. What you're selling doesn't have to be unique. It may be the way you do it that's unique. But if what you're doing is not unique, then you might have competition, and therefore challenges with viability and scalability. But you have to have something that is unique within the marketplace, either your process or your offering. What makes you different to your competition? But these are the ones I put in bold because these are the ones that are focused on, and more than anything, what you are doing must not be easily replicable by others. And I'm not talking about the big players in the market, but if you're putting together, for example, what we call an aggregator website, which is a website that pulls together the services of others so you can find it all in one place, that's easy for a coder. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a coder, but I could probably do that with a month or 2 months learning. So the project has to include a degree of intellectual property. I'm not talking about patents. That's one form of intellectual property, but something clever that you've developed that's not easily replicable by others. It has to be core to the success of the business. So you can't say, hey, I've got something innovative here. Oh, and by the way, I'm also going to do a load of consultancy as well, which is just bog standard turn handle consultancy. The innovative component has to produce the majority of your revenue. The innovative component has to be core to the success of the business. It can't be an add-on that you've just thrown in to try and meet the criteria for innovation. And it has to be primarily developed and delivered within the business. So you can't say, for example, I'm an administrator in a business. I'm creating this amazing, all singing, all dancing piece of software or product that I'm not designing. Someone else is going to design it for me. Someone else is going to build it for me. Okay, we appreciate you may need help with certain things, a little bit of coding or something else, but the applicant has to be primarily responsible for developing and delivering the innovative components. And again, we receive many applications for inventions. The difference are innovations are inventions that have a market that sell. Okay, so a couple of questions very, very quickly here again. What can be the innovation in legal services? Well, that's for you to decide. I can't tell you what might be innovative in legal services. You have to have that idea yourself. You have to develop that idea yourself and present it to us. But if I tell you what's innovative in legal, then you are effectively developing my idea, not yours. So I hope you appreciate the sort of the straight response to that answer, but that's for you to investigate and decide. You need to find out what people want that's not currently available and develop an innovative product or service around some customer demand, something that people would pay for. I know it's innovative in my sector. I don't know your sector because I'm not a legal person. Okay, so and does the marketplace come in innovation? Well, if you're delivering something that already exists to a new marketplace, you could say that's easily replicable. Everyone else that's delivering this could say, well, I'm going to sell it into your marketplace as well. So, we could say, for example, okay, because these services are typically used by UK residents, I'm going to sell them specifically into, I'm actually going to go back to legal here. I'm going to sell legal services to the Muslim community because there are slight differences in ethics, culture, and laws. Well, you could say that, in all honesty, we've had that a lot. But firstly, there are a number of legal companies who already specialise in that, and secondly, it's easily replicable. Any law company could employ people who fully understand the Muslim culture and say, we want to promote our services to this aspect of the community. What do we need to focus on? What do we need to change? So you've got to think about marketplace can be very, very difficult unless you've got some amazingly different way of going into the marketplace. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next. Actually, I'm going to touch on this one now. We've seen AI and machine learning in the past treated as an add-on or bolted on innovation. Does recent government focus on AI change how AI is treated innovatively? Well, the problem with AI is like anything else. A year ago, AI chatbots were absolutely brilliant. They were totally new. They could look at the neural process, natural language processing to give you a very, very realistic conversation. So when it was new, it was absolutely brilliant. AI bots. Now, there's a lot of people out there doing AI bots, so it's no longer innovative. So when it comes to AI, we've always got to look at state of the art and machine learning as well. What is new? Often it's your application, but we do see, I'd say probably 8 out of 10 applications, especially those that are refused, throw in AI or ML or blockchain or whatever, or VR again, VR, AR, as a way to try and make it sound innovative. So we've got to look beyond that and say, is there a genuinely unique and useful application of AI or ML within your application that's fundamental to the innovation, and it's not just being thrown in as some words often that the applicant doesn't understand and probably couldn't describe. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to viability. There has to be credible demand for your offering. And by credible demand for your offering, what I mean is web-based research is okay. It's just okay. But what I'm really looking for here is having spoken to clients and demonstrated that those clients not only want, but would actually pay for what it is you're offering. What's the pain point that you're hitting? What would they pay for your solution? And how do you know that they would pay this for your solution? And the way you find this really, we'll have a look in the business plan guide, because the business plan guide talks quite specifically about this. So there has to be credible demand. You have to have access to sufficient funds and resources to deliver the proposed business. The supporting financial projections must be defensible, they must be realistic, and you must have the appropriate skills, knowledge, and experience to actually deliver the project. So that's typically what we look for in viability. And again, one of the big things is, I've mentioned on the side here, when you're applying for your next visa, you'll be assessed against your original business plan and your projections. So if you say I'm going to get 28 million in year 2, and we do get some that say things like that, let's be more realistic. If you say I'm going to get 280k in year 2 and you end up getting 2.8k, you've done 1% of your projection. That's going to be taken into account. So making this realistic and achievable is so important. Let's move on to scalability. Now, scalability should be a natural extension of viability. You grow your business becomes viable, and then you look to further scale it and grow it by employing people or moving into national and international markets. So what we look for here is a structured plan demonstrating a credible path to growth, scope for growth nationally and internationally, staff, people being employed where relevant, and of course, if you want to take your settlement targets into this, it should be the employment of UK nationals, and projections should be based on credible research. Okay, so we've looked at innovation, viability, and scalability. When your assessor has looked into all of this, they take the project to a panel. And the panel ensures that your application is agreed by at least 2 different people. The assessor will say, I think this should be approved, or I think it shouldn't be approved. And the lead assessor discusses the project with the case assessor, providing a second opinion. Now, this may be sufficient to make a decision, or it may raise the need for additional information. If it raises the need for additional information, there will be further questioning. There may be seeking further evidence. The assessor will ask the applicant directly via a call or via email. And this is because we are unsure about something, or we want to clarify a specific point. And this can lead to an application normally being a little longer. We complete the majority of our assessments within 28 days. We have a rule with the Home Office that we aim to complete all within 60 days, and we hit that target in the majority of the time. I'd say 99% of the time. But often an application can take a little longer when we need more information. It may take a little longer coming back. And again, I say on the left here, nothing supports an application as well as real evidence, sales, contracts, prototypes. Okay, so let's move on. An initial decision will be made. Not all projects require further questioning. And a decision may happen in 2 days. It may happen in 28 days. And it can be simple or complex. But every project is subject to the same basic criteria. Every application gets feedback. When an application is successful, the applicant progresses to the next stage, interview and due diligence. When a project is refused, there is a chance to question the decisions. So moving on to the interview. The purpose of the interview, it will be a Zoom interview, is to clarify the plan was written by the applicant and they are capable of delivering that project. So we may ask some additional questions. We very rarely see a failure at this point, because if they've got this far, we are convinced that they know the business well, it is their business, and they are capable of delivering it. But again, getting to the Zoom interview doesn't automatically imply success. Okay, so if that's successful, the applicant will then progress to due diligence, where we check their passport using a system called KYC 360. We screen across global sanctions, PEPs, watch list information. We perform financial checks, looking at additional documents. So if someone says, hey, my project is running on £300,000 investment from Uncle Peter, then we'll want to know that Uncle Peter is an investor who has access to that funding and has agreed to put that money in, and what the conditions are around that investment. So we will check documents to make sure that everything stacks up, and that is the final check. Once that's happened, our CRM system pulls information into a formalized endorsement letter with feedback information that's sent to the applicant with your endorsement number that you need to apply for your visa, and forwarded to the Home Office. And all files are shared with the Home Office for reference. I'm going to pop back to a couple of questions. We've only got 2 more coming in at the moment. Number 1, is there a minimum revenue turnover for the business? No, it depends what the business is, to be honest. Although you can remember, you've got to be showing trends towards scalability. So I'm going to touch on this in a few minutes. I've got a slide on something called sustainability. And ultimately, you've got to be buying things at a market value, paying your staff at a market value, and making a profit. So if you're turning over 20k after 3 years, you don't have what I'd call a real business. If you're turning over 200k after 3 years, depending on what your business is and the business model, then you have something that we would deem more of a real business. But again, it goes back to what you forecast in your business plan, because that's what will be assessed against. Um, Unfortunately, I can't give examples of projects that were recently endorsed because they may be in the research phase. What I can say is have a look at our Innovator Pulse website. I'll give you a link at the end. What we've got to appreciate is when the majority of applications get endorsed, they there's a development phase they have to go through, and privacy is a part of our contract with the Home Office and the client. So this information I just simply can't disclose on the grounds of privacy. Sorry, but I'm trying to think, is there anything I can do? I mean, the range is what I can do is I can tell you that the majority of applications are still in the digital sector. Digital professional services and engineering are the top three sectors that get most regularly endorsed. And I mean, they would have met each of the criteria. I can't have that conversation without disclosing specific information about the application. And from a point of privacy, that's something I'm not permitted to do. Sorry, so that's something. That's the first question I can't answer. Sorry. Let's move on. So the Home Office assessment is something that is totally out of our hands. Your endorsement letter lasts for 3 months. If you can't reply within that time frame and you've got a good reason, it's okay. We should be able to issue you with a new letter. But once it's in the Home Office's hands, we don't receive any information unless a caseworker asks us information as to why we made a certain decision or what evidence made us make a certain decision. We have no influence. We're not able to pursue cases with the Home Office. We simply receive a monthly report showing visas that are granted or refused. So we find out after a set period of time whether a visa has been granted or refused. And in many cases, we hear from you before we hear from the Home Office anyway. So we rely on that relationship with you to tell us that. Okay, so we've got the questions flying in at the moment. I've got one more now. So before I go into this, I'll just touch this very quickly. If digital is one of the categories that's most accepted, why apply for this visa and not global talent? Well, global talent, it's a very good question. Thank you very much. Global talent, you have to have achieved certain things in your career or be going down the path to achieve certain things in your career to apply specifically for that visa route. So it might be that you don't meet the route, you don't meet that specific route, you don't meet the criteria for global talent route. I mean, it may be, say for the sake of argument, I worked for a long time in a company called BA Systems. I had some great projects, I had some great ideas, but I wasn't a leader there. I didn't have experience to, I didn't have sufficient experience or qualification to have met the criteria for global talent. So had I not been a UK national at the time, I couldn't have applied for global talent. But I had great ideas. I had great market potential. I could have applied for Innovator Visa. There is a crossover between the two. If you've got an exceptional individual, they may choose to go down global talent route rather than Innovator Visa route. And, you know, I don't think you can get your ILR earlier, someone suggested. But you can get it. You haven't got the criteria that you have on the Innovator Visa route. You don't have to have your checkpoint meetings. But you've got to remember, you can get ILR on this route within in 3 years if you achieve your targets. Most people don't. Most people get the same business visa and achieve it in about 5 years. But again, it's all about criteria. If you meet the criteria for global talent, then you may want to consider that. But I believe they are, the criteria is being considered at the moment in terms of are the right sort of applicants going through global talent and so on. There's a crossover between the routes, but the criteria is quite simple. Let me move on to these comments. If not in the three categories that have been most accepted. No, absolutely not. So someone suggested, is the obvious conclusion that if you're not in these three categories, you're unlikely to be accepted? No, absolutely not. It's a matter of statistics. Those three are the most successful categories because they're the ones where we get the highest number of applications. You might find out that we get 100 applications in, I'm making up these numbers by the way, 100 applications in digital and 50% are successful. You might find out we get 10 applications in, I don't know, antique dealing for the sake of argument, and 9 are successful. Therefore, you have a higher success rate in antiques, but you have a greater number in digital. So that is not an obvious conclusion. It's statistics purely based upon the highest number of applications coming in digital. So please don't draw incorrect assumptions from those statistics. Every application has equal merit, and you shouldn't look for trends. Hey, the highest number of applications are digital, therefore we should put a digital project in. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You should put in something that you've researched well and that you are a specialist in providing. And if the person who wants that question, I'm not saying your name deliberately, obviously, because it's going to be on YouTube. If you want to contact me privately for clarification on that, please do. I think it's important to get that right. Global talent question: only biomedical or bioscience businesses that apply for innovation? Many, yeah, but for us, biomed and bioscience, they may fall into healthcare, they may fall into engineering. We have a strong, a good flow of biomed, pharma, and healthcare projects getting endorsed because it's a great area to be working at the moment. And again, they may be from university spin-outs, although, we do have some that are university spin-outs as well. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on. And again, the person who commented very kindly on the statistics for digital, I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. So please do contact me. We'll carry on that question, that conversation privately. Okay, so going through the questions again, if you're granted an opportunity for an appeal, the second assessor is prepared to commit time, potentially hours or days to review the case. Arranging a meeting with the applicant would be far more effective. Well, that depends, because they haven't got an objective view. The applicant hasn't seen the 1,000 other applications that we've received, and they're only, in a lot of cases, they only promote what it is that they've already done. In addition, what you've got to remember and what you don't see is a high number of these second applications actually come from business plan factories, what we call them, people who are just submitting projects on behalf of the client. The client's not actually involved. So, and they tend to get the client into a room with them, answer questions on their behalf, and it's a very time consuming process. So instead, if you can't articulate why you should be endorsed in writing, then you're going to have challenges in other ways growing your business in the UK. So if we have further questions, we will always contact the client and say, hey, answer them by email, or let's arrange a conversation. So we don't offer an interview in every case, purely because you don't see what happens behind the scenes in terms of invalid applications. And it's actually, from a process perspective, much more time effective not to offer that. But if we think there's a genuine application, to make sure we get that decision right, we will always speak to the applicant either via email or in person. As an endorsing body that's worked with applicants since 2019, how many of the old Innovator Visa clients achieved ILR in 3 years? That's a statistic I don't have access to. Again, just email, and I know you've got my email address. I know we've spoken before. Email me privately and I'll happily share that information with you. The reason I don't have access to that privately is because we have a number who are still undergoing the process. They may have progressed to founder visa. We're actually looking at an ILR and the same business case for a legacy client this week. So that is something I can look at separately and let you know. Please do get in touch privately. I know we've not spoken in a long time, so it would be good to have a catch up anyway. We can arrange a private Zoom if you want, and I'll get that stat for you then. Okay, questions flying in. I'm going to go back to the presentation in a few minutes. How much leeway on revenue forecasts? There's great leeway on revenue forecasts. I mean, if you put in, no one ever hits the revenue they're going to forecast. But as long as you're showing, as long as you have reasons for not hitting it, and you're showing that you're moving in a very positive direction, then everything is considered on a case-by-case basis. I'm whipping through these quite quickly now, so we can get back to the slides. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the slides now and come back to the questions later, because I want to make sure I get the key stuff out to everyone first. But if you've asked me a question, I will get back to it in a few minutes' time when I take the next break. I'm very aware of the time. Delivering your project. So once you're in the UK, you have to make your plan happen. Your project plan is your side of the deal. When it comes to progression, this is the benchmark that you've contractually agreed and that you will be assessed against. But nothing ever goes to plan. That's why you have to keep us informed about what it is you're doing, and don't wait until the end, or you may be refused the chance to stay on this specific visa route. Now, we all know that projects change, things don't work sometimes, or you need to change, or you see a new opportunity. This is called a pivot. New phrase, pivoting. Now, a minor pivot is a small change to the project, maintaining your overall direction. It may be that you've identified a new market base, or you've tweaked your product or your service in some way, and you're not doing what you originally suggested in your plan. But what you are doing is not sufficiently different. You must approve that with your endorsing body. But that's a fairly easy, fairly quick change. We just need to be able to tell the Home Office that we've approved that change. But things really aren't working and you're making a major change, we call it a major pivot, and that may require a full reassessment and in cases may incur a new assessment fee. Either way, all pivots need to be approved by the endorsing body, because if you get to us at the end and say, hey, I've got $500,000 turnover, but it's doing something totally different, then it's going to be refused by the Home Office. You have to do what you were endorsed to do. And a pivot is effectively a formal change to your endorsed plan saying, well, actually, I'm allowed to do this as well, or I'm going to be doing this instead. If you're changing what it is that you're doing, please tell us. Just to clarify, I've seen one comment come up on the chat. This recording will be published on our YouTube channel, which is open to everyone. And assuming the transcription makes sense, it will be published as a LinkedIn article. But it will be on YouTube, split into chapters, so you can just scroll forward to the chapter that you want to see. Okay. The one thing that has changed is under the old program, we gave a lot of support to our clients, but we charged a little bit more. We're not allowed to do that anymore. An AVS, an added value service, as it's phrased by the Home Office, cannot be mandatory. People pay £1,000 for the assessment and £500 for each of their checkpoint meetings, another £1,000. If they want extra services from us, they have to pay for those, but we can't force them on the client, and nor do we want to. So every client has a I've just noticed actually this is exactly the same slide. Let me, what I should say here, sorry, is we have 3 added value services. The first is something called Your Business Coach, where the client has a structured monthly support session from our coach. They have access to the members area of Innovator Pulse. I'll tell you about that in a moment. That's £150 per month, minimum sign up for 6 months. This is how we help people deliver their projects. It's not mandatory, it's a choice. We also have something called expert sessions, which are 1-hour sessions with an expert in your required sector or discipline. It may be sales, it may be social media, it may be aerospace, it may be medical, but we have a range of experts who can provide support, multiple sessions. A single hour session is £300 plus VAT. There are options available. If you want a group of sessions, then the cost can obviously be changed. But these are the ongoing support services that we provide to our client base. We also have a platform we've made public more recently called Innovator Pulse, innovatorpulse.com. And this provides some of the headline work that we're doing. It provides some case studies, access to some documents. But if you are a member of your business coach, which is this section here, you have access to the members area. And the members area has all of our videos historically, around 50 business support documents, an AI-driven business coach that will answer any of your specific questions from our document library, and exclusive access to online events like this, where we talk about all sorts of things, sales, marketing, IP, and so on. So again, it's something that we encourage our client base to get involved with, but it is totally mandatory. Okay, I'm now going to go on to progressing, same business and ILR before I pop back to a few more questions quickly. If you are with a legacy endorsing body, the Home Office recognises that some legacy endorsing bodies are no longer operational or supporting the route. If your legacy endorsing body is not responding to you or no longer operating as an endorsing body, you can transfer to a current endorsing body provisionally at no cost. I'll tell you why I say provisionally in a moment. If your legacy endorsing body is in contact with you, but you want to move to a new endorsing body, the Home Office are permitting this, but you have to pay a reassessment fee. Now, the Home Office are in the process of finalising these details, so that slide is draft, it's provisional at the moment. This is what we expect to happen. Please contact us if you have further questions. If you're going for same business or ILR, very few applicants actually achieve ILR within 3 years. And the Home Office really don't encourage this. They want to see you build a business to show it is scalable. So Most people go onto a same business application and seek ILR after around 5 years. But you, again, I've said this a few times already, you have to have achieved considerable progress against your original plan or your pivoted plan if that's happened. And you've got to remember that when you're writing a plan for yourself or with someone else. A new visa or ILR depends upon progress against your plan. So please make your targets achievable and realistic. You have to show sustainability, and this is where the big word, this word comes in, because we've had people say to us, hey, I've hit the targets for ILR. They've only considered the 6 settlement targets and not the other key requirements, one of which is sustainability. And what sustainability means is your revenue primarily comes from the innovative proposition you endorse to provide, not other services. That you're paying market rate salaries. You can't say, well, I'm working in the business for free. That's my way of showing the business sustainable. No, because if you fell ill, you'd have to employ someone and you'd have to pay them a market rate salary. So market rate salaries are a key factor in sustainability calculations. You need to be purchasing goods at market values. You can't be getting them in what we call mates rates or from one of your other businesses at a lower cost. But then ultimately your revenue exceeds your costs and hence you're making a net profit. For same business applications, revenue can include investments and grants or money that's been injected into the business. For ILR, revenue cannot include investment. You have to be wholly sustainable from sales of your products. Let's just look at that comment briefly. What happens if your costs exceed your revenue? Well, you haven't got a business. You're going to go bankrupt very quickly. And that is not showing the signs of a viable or a scalable business. So sustainability is probably one of the most important phrases that we consider when we're looking at same business and new business. And common pitfalls include revenue streams other than what you're endorsed to do, insufficient against your progress against your endorsed plan, unapproved pivots, little commercial traction, and no demonstration of scalability. So what we say is you've effectively signed a contract for your visa and it's your business plan. Don't take the path of least resistance. If you find, hey, it's easy to make money consulting, well, it might be. And that will serve your purpose in the short term, but it'll mean when it comes to assessing what you've done for your same business or ILR, you will most likely fail. So please bear that in mind. So what we need to see on same business and new business applications is typically an original plan and endorsement letter, formal minutes and notes from your checkpoint meetings, formal approval of pivots, updated plan from pivots, a progress report summarising your progress, and other evidence may be requested, for example, invoices, accounts, and so on. But all of this is available on our website. If you go to support guides, click on Innovator, same business, and all of this information is provided in a little more detail. I can see the questions firing in. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get these slides out of the way just in case any of you need to be gone for 12, and I will then spend a little time answering all the questions. So if you have asked a question, please rest assured I will answer it, but equally you won't have to hang around to hear all the questions from other people. So when we look at the same business or ILR, we don't reassess the innovation. Your innovation has been approved. As long as that is what you're delivering, then that's absolutely fine. But we look for progress against your endorsed plan, development of any intellectual property, what commercial traction do you have? Are you still scalable? And you should look at that for sales. Are your sales still increasing? And are you commercially sustainable? That big word again, sustainable. What happens if you're refused? If you're refused, if you genuinely think we've misunderstood your project, this is a chance for you to tell us why. And the second assessment lets you tell us where we went wrong, but it's not a chance to change or amend your project. It's simply to tell us where we may have misunderstood something that you meant, or provide a little extra evidence that you didn't provide first time around. If you're still refused and you appeal, your case is sent to a second assessor to make sure the original assessor made the right decision. Again, it's not a chance to change things. The success rate on second assessments is 5%. There's never been a successful appeal. And the reason for that is because in 95% of cases, we get the decision right first time around. Okay, and so again, the main reasons for refusals are This is on new applications. No clear or compelling unique selling proposition. Not easy. It's easily replicable by others. It's not primarily delivered within the business. There is not credible demand for your offering. The supporting financial protections cannot be defended, for example, investment. There's no appropriate skills, knowledge, or experience, and projections are not based on credible assumptions or research. So effectively, it's not a genuine business opportunity, or it's not presented by a genuine applicant. The main reasons for refusal for sane businesses are revenue revenue mainly from other streams, not what you're endorsed to do, insufficient progress, unapproved pivots, little commercial traction, or no evidence of scalability. It could be that the progress is a little too casual and the achievement didn't match the expectation. And the main reasons for refusal for ILR is, again, similar to same business, revenue mainly from other streams, insufficient progress, not sustainable, unapproved pivots, insufficient evidence for the two additional targets, specifically the R&D leading to IP protection. Again, we talk about that in our guide for same business applications, and no demonstration of scalability. Okay, so if you're refused, the government does not, so your assessment fee does not guarantee you an interview or an endorsement. We have a process. That process has been approved by the Home Office. That process works. We do not provide feedback on how to make a project eligible. People have come to us and said, I want a refund because you refused my project and didn't tell me how I could make it eligible. You're not buying business support. What you're buying is a fee for an assessment of a plan. Now, I was comparing it to the passport office. If you're not granted a passport, you can't bang on the passport office door and say, I paid you the fee to assess it. Tell me how I can get a passport. We're providing an assessment service for a government immigration route here, something quite different to business support. So we can't support you to develop an eligible idea, and we don't provide an essay detailing every failure point with our assessment process. We provide a summary of why it wasn't approved, but that summary should be sufficient for you to understand. I appreciate we've got 3 minutes left. Some people may need to go. So last couple of slides, takeaway points. Please go to our website, download our documents and study them in detail. Clarify the pain point that you're addressing within the market. What is the opportunity? Clarify and substantiate the market benefit. Innovate, don't just invent. Work on your IP and specifically what it is that you're doing that's different and demanded in the marketplace, and work on your numbers, because if it doesn't feel authentic to you, then it certainly won't look authentic to us. We've got events coming up. We're meeting for a bite and a couple of drinks and a social in the middle of Manchester on Monday, 17th of Feb from 11 until 1. Check out my LinkedIn. Contact us for details. There's no fee. It's a casual catch-up. And we want to run more of these around the country. So if the Manchester one is good and well attended, we will run more around the country. So please, if you're in or around Manchester or want to come up and meet the team in person, jump on a train, come up to Manchester for the day. It's a lovely place, and the restaurant we've picked is absolutely amazing. The founder will be there as well. So if you've got foodie ventures, great person to speak to. We're going to do this session quarterly, but we're probably going to do it in Zoom one quarter, in person in London the next quarter. So please do keep in touch with what we're doing. We are hoping or planning to arrange a similar event in London in May. That's not guaranteed yet, but again, if there's sufficient interest, it's something that we will do. You can't sign up to our newsletter yet because the link isn't on our website, but we're opening our members newsletter to everyone else to get some more information on there. So in the next couple of weeks, we should have a link on our Innovator International and Innovator Pulse websites to sign up to the newsletter. Please do. It's a way to stay in touch with what's happening and with our market base. And if there's something you want in that newsletter that's not in there, tell us. But again, for the person who mentioned earlier, we are going to have case studies in the newsletter of newly endorsed people and their stories. So a great way to stay in touch with what's getting endorsed. So it's time for questions. I'm going to start by going through questions on the chat. If you need to go, 11:59, not bad timing. What I'll do, I'll skip back and forth between these two slides. So people who want to see the LinkedIn information and our the contact information. But if you need to go at 12, thank you so much for your time. We hope to see you either in Manchester in a couple of weeks or in London in May. But contact us via LinkedIn, contact us via email if you have questions. We want to build our informal relationships with you to help the application base. Now, I'm going to start going through the questions. There's a load of questions here. So if you are staying, fantastic, thank you. If you need to go, fully understand, thanks for coming. This session in its entirety will be published on our LinkedIn. So bear with me before I go on to the questions, just a quick drink. Okay, so let's fire away into these questions now. Okay, so we have the first question I've got here is about someone who had good revenue, COVID hit. If something unforeseen happens, caused a shift in the business offering and market downfall, well, what you've got to do, that's okay. You've got to tell us what you're going to do about it, what you plan to do about it, and pivot. So everything is done on a case-by-case basis, and we're looking for ways to approve people, not to refuse them. How many applicants percentage-wise get ILR in 3 years? And for the rest, which fails after 5 years when they need to meet missing criteria. If you just miss your criteria, that's not a problem. It's trends we're looking at. It's trends that you have a business that's scaling and a business that is wholly sustainable. Percentage wise, I don't know. I simply don't have access to those figures. I could look into it, but it's not something I have to the tip of my fingers. What's the best way to highlight you can recruit people? Well, it's your plan. You in your plan should show what skills you need, what skills you have, and therefore what skills you need to recruit. And clearly, if you're recruiting a CTO, you need to identify when you're doing that, what it's going to cost, and you have the budget to do that. So again, in a good plan, you'll show that. Solo founders, the majority of our applicants are solo founders. We have, I'd guess, 90% solo, 8% duo, 2% three people. It's probably even less than that, to be honest. So solo entrepreneurs form the majority of our applicants and our successful applicants, obviously, as well. That's a statistic, not a trend. Okay, so how long is the current application timeline process? The majority of applications are done within 28 days. Some are a lot shorter. The clear refusals can be as quick as 3 or 4 days. The acceptances tend to take a little longer because we need to do the interview and the due diligence. But again, at the moment, we do around 90% of our applications within, I say 80 to 90% within 28 days, the remainder within 60 days. It's very rare for a case to go over 60 days. I'm doing research. I want to switch from startup to innovator founder. I've done market research and pivoted to a similar idea. My endorsing body can't switch me to Innovator Visa. Okay, if that's the case, then you need to speak to one of the new endorsing bodies, of course, of which we are one of them, about what it is that you want to do, and we can advise, but you would need to pay. If your endorsing body is not in contact with you, you can potentially pivot. If they are in contact with you, you'd potentially need to pay a reassessment fee to switch to the new endorsing body, but that would put you on a whole new 3-year cycle. Okay, thank you very much. So I've got some. Okay, so just reading comments. The non-disclosure framework you reside under, can you tell us if there are any pending changes to Innovator Founder Visa framework? There are no anticipated changes to the Innovator Visa framework, and I can say that if there were and we weren't allowed to disclose them, I would say, but I can simply say clearly on that one, there aren't. As far as we're aware, there are no changes planned to the Innovator Visa, the Innovator Founder Visa framework. Again, thanks for the comments coming in, thanking us. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and we look forward to speaking to you in more detail. NLP and ML is quite innovative these days. Still, why were applications rejected on the basis of these core criteria? Well, it depends how you're using it. NLP and ML depend. If you're doing something that other people are doing, then it's not innovative. It all depends upon the application of AI, NLP, and ML. And you might say, hey, I'm doing something that everyone else does, but I'm going to use AI and NLP and ML. Well, you can't just say I'm going to use AI, NLP, and ML. For those who aren't aware, sorry, it's artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and machine learning. You've got to show us that there's a genuine benefit from using those. Just using them may provide absolutely no benefit whatsoever. So people often throw in these words into a business plan to make it sound innovative, when genuinely there's no difference. It's not offering any market advantage. Um, it's not providing something that people would pay more money for or move from their existing solution to this. And in many cases, the applicant doesn't have the skill set to deliver it. They've thrown it in because they know they're buzzwords. The same with things like blockchain and cryptocurrency. They're words that are regularly thrown in to try and make an application sound innovative, but there is not a genuine market or purpose for the use of those technology. And what you've got to remember is we use digital experts to assess digital applications, and they will see through an applicant that's just thrown the words in for the sake of throwing the words in, or whether it's not a genuine application of those technologies. Hey, that's a great idea. London would be fantastic. I tell you, if when we do this in London, we will invite some successful applicants along, people who are on the journey, and hopefully people who have achieved their ILR as well. So, great idea, great idea. James, if you can make note of that, we will make sure we invite a few of our members to a session to talk about their experience. Teachers, one of the categories that's most accepted. Oh, sorry, that's a question we've answered already, I think. Okay, keen to keep talking. Absolutely. So we thank you very much. So please do stay in touch. What are preferred template processes for post assessment, telling you where we went wrong? We don't want an extensive report. We want someone to tell us simply, you didn't take into account this or this or this. You can do that on the second assessment form online. You may say, for example, we have contracts available. Please contact us to see these. And at that point, your assessor will email you or arrange a call with you for you to show them that additional evidence. So we're not after a big document referred to in the UK as War and Peace, the huge book, Ben-Hur. What we're after is a simple explanation telling us why you think we get it wrong, and then we can arrange that conversation with you to discuss it in more detail. Can you re-endorse your project if your first endorsement has withdrawn after 12-month checkpoint? That depends who withdrew it. If it was withdrawn by your endorsing body, then well, yeah, you can put another application in, but that application would have to be subject to an application fee, and it would be reassessed. Now, the fact it was assessed in the first place would act in your favour. Sorry, the fact it was endorsed in the first place would act in your favour. But you should say why it was withdrawn. Was it withdrawn by you or by the endorsing body? For what reason, and what you've done to overcome that? So you wouldn't be forbidden from applying again, but the Home Office would probably say, well, hang on, you had a chance, something went wrong. This is assuming it was withdrawn by the endorsing body. Why did it go wrong? And why is it going to be different second time around? Now, I'm always cautious about this because there are often extenuating circumstances. So again, just make us aware of everything. Be honest and make us aware of everything. Honesty is obviously the best policy in these processes. Okay, so you can switch your endorsing body if no longer responds. My endorsing body still have a contact, but the department's no longer part of the business. Can I switch without reassessment? I'm on startup due to expire in July. Please email info@innovatorinternational.com, because we need to understand what, if that department's no longer a part of the business, then if they're not supporting you, then you can potentially switch with no fee. But it's always good for us to know the circumstances in depth, because what we do every time is we have to present the case to the Home Office that then say, yes, you can, or no, you can't, which is why I don't give a comprehensive decision at this point. But provisionally, yes, you should be able to. 3 questions to go, 2 questions to go. Actually, 1. Yeah, there's a thank you. So thank you to all of you guys as well. So last question here. Can the innovation be a niche market, or does it have to be a digital or combination? It doesn't have to be digital. It can be a niche market, but if your market is niche, then you've got to consider how viable and scalable that business actually is. If it's so niche, there's not a big market there, then you know, that's something that we would have to say, well, hey, you know, it's such a small market, it's not really a scalable business. It doesn't have to be digital either. We have many projects that aren't digital. As I say, we have healthcare, we have professional services, we have engineering. What's most important, and I'll finish on this point, what's more important than anything is that you've identified a need for a new service or a new product or something that's made in a different or better way, and your customer base have said, hey, I'll pay you money for that. I think it's a great idea. So you have some substantial evidence that it would sell, and then you have the means to develop and deliver that project. And you're not just project managing it. You're actually having so you're getting someone else to design and develop it, someone, but you have a genuine role in developing the intellectual side of that business, the innovative part of that business. And that, a strong business opportunity combined with the right people and the right resources is the most important thing. Don't look at a single sector, don't look at a specific niche market, but make sure there's a real business opportunity that's sufficiently different. And that, I think, is where we will probably finish. Let me just make sure there's no further questions. No, there are no further questions. So again, thank you so much for your time. We will put this on our LinkedIn channel. If you're on YouTube, go and have a look at Innovator Pulse as a YouTube channel. There is a link earlier on in this presentation. But again, go to YouTube, look at Innovator Pulse. We did run these things called Tuesday morning coffee clubs where we talk about a range of subjects. We've got a load of videos on about what we do, what we have done, loads of guides on applying, and we will put this video on our Innovator Pulse. Oh, there we go, innovatorpulse.com or YouTube channel. It's actually at Innovation International, but if you search for Innovator Pulse, you'll find it. So again, for those who are still in the room, there's still a few of us, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. If you have further questions, email info@innovationinternational.com or send us LinkedIn questions, and we will hope to see you either in a couple of weeks in Manchester, in 3 months time in London, or in 6 months time at the next Zoom event. But don't be a stranger. Please do get in touch with questions. Thanks for your time. We will now close this session, and we look forward to hearing from you and working with you moving forward. Thank you very much.